Welcome back to the Real Estate Hacks podcast. The boys left me. They're having a terrible time over in Punta Cana right now. So I thought, who else should I have on the podcast? I better call Paul. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thanks for calling me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, love to hear it. Love to hear it. So for those of you who don't know, Paul Schaffner is a mortgage agent here with me at our brokerage. And yeah, we're going to talk about some things that have been asked to us recently from some realtors and also clients, touch on those, and also let's talk about the market and everything. But first, I want Paul to introduce himself. Tell us how you got started in the business and what you were doing before that.
Prior to me being a mortgage agent, I was an educator for almost 25 years. Retired as a principal back in January 2022. Really enjoyed my time as an educator, but I was really passionate about the mortgage business. I love working with numbers and I love working with people. I put those two things together and I said, this is kind of the ideal situation for me. So I thought, let's take the course, let's get licensed. And then I met Scott Dillingham a little over a year and a half ago. He was very good to me, interviewed me, and here we are today. So really excited being a part of this world and having that opportunity to help people with their situations, their scenarios, their opportunities to purchase homes out there.
Right. Awesome. Love to hear it, Paul. Yeah. So you basically went from teaching younger people like kids and teenagers, and now you're teaching full-on adults trying to buy a home.
And that, and I found in this last year and a bit that I've been doing this, that you find that it is a lot about teaching and learning and supporting and meeting people where they are at.
Right.
Because a lot of people, when they go to buy a house, they don't understand all the intricacies behind it. What does it take to get a mortgage?
Yeah. It's a lot more complicated than you would think. Right?
100%. So I think in this last year, working with the number of clients that I have, it's been great to be able to kind of lean on my teaching career, education career, to help clients and folks understand the process. Right. And what it looks like and what you need to be able to provide to us and be able to do in order to get that mortgage.
Right, for sure, for sure. What would you say so far is your favorite part about being a mortgage agent?
Like in my previous career, but for sure, it's working with people and learning the business. And now that I've had a really strong grasp of what is required to be I think, an effective mortgage agent, it's working with the people. Lend City is a great place to work. Great people here. Right. You yourself, Mike, have been really supportive of my growth over the last year and a bit, and I really appreciate that. And I've learned a lot through having conversations with yourself and other agents and the admin team and Scott and Aya. It's been really, really good for me. So I think in the end, though, helping the client get what they need to be able to purchase that house or get into that new investment property has been, I think, the most rewarding for me.
Yeah.
Without question.
For sure, yeah. It's always awesome, especially for like first-time buyers or first-time investors, helping them get that first property, that first investment. It's really exciting on their part, but also us. It's just really exciting to point people in the right direction and get them in their real estate goals,
And I think that's, we have to be mindful of where people are at. We have to be mindful of what it takes to become approved or pre-approved for a mortgage. What do you need? And I think the other thing that's really I've enjoyed being able to do is taking that education role and now bringing it to real estate brokerages around the city, around Windsor, Essex. Right. I know you and I just recently had a great presentation at a real estate brokerage. Yep. And it was really, really enjoyable to be able to speak to a number of real estate agents and partners about what we do and about what we can do to help them and their clients specifically.
Why don't we actually talk about some of those things that we teach those real estate brokerages when we go in and do a presentation for them? Why don't we touch on a couple of those things? Because they're commonly asked questions. So I'm sure if they're interested, a lot of people that are watching will be interested as well.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great idea. I love talking about that stuff. And I think you and I, when we went to present to this particular brokerage, we decided that, it makes more sense to have the partners that we're going to speak to develop the questions first
Right.
ahead of time, right?
Right.
And so when we got there, we knew we tailored our presentation to what they wanted to know, as opposed to just going in as a mortgage brokerage and saying, hey, here's how we can help you. Here's what we do. Sometimes that gets a little bit dry for some agents because either they already know it or they don't really at that point in their career want to know about that right now.
Yeah.
So we asked them to provide us with those questions. I know we talked about 3 specific things, 2 that we want to touch on today. I think if we want to talk a little bit about, I know that one of the questions that came up was that turnaround time for mortgages.
Yeah. So the turnaround time for mortgages, you know, if you're a realtor out there, you're going to put an offer in, or a client, you know, like if you have a financing condition, generally, you know, we like to see 3 to 5 days in there, and there's a reason for that. So we really encourage people to come to us and get pre-approved first, right? It just makes things a lot easier when they have a live offer to get it in and get it approved as quickly as possible. But things do happen, right? So if you come to us and you get a pre-approval, you know, usually if you have a live offer, a 3-day financing condition, if you want to put a financing condition in there, is enough time for us to get it done. Now, if the lender is asking for an appraisal and the appraisers are really backed up, they're busy, they might not be able to get in there until like 2 or 3 days later. That's where it can kind of become tricky, and you might want to get a 5-day financing condition in there just to be safe, right? Usually though, you know, like we have a really good relationship with our appraisers here, right? So usually, you know, if we need something done quick, they can get in there and get it done for us. But, you know, things do happen. But turnaround time from start to finish, from when you bring us a live offer and to get it done, you know, we like to say like 3 weeks. You know, usually, you know, if you
I think it depends on the
30-day
lender a little bit too, right? We always talk about that depending on the scenario or situation with the particular client.
Right, yeah. Like we've had like rush files and stuff. Like the one file that I had, you know, the client was working with somebody else, and then she reached out to me. She got my number somehow, and she was like, oh, like, lender just backed out his deal. It's a house on Manitoulin Island.
Okay.
She reached out to me on the Monday or Tuesday, and it was closing the following Monday. So I had about 5 business days. So
that's not a lot of time.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, you know, I was honest. I was upfront. I said, this is a really tall order. Like, I don't know. I've never funded a mortgage on the A side this quickly before, but I have a good relationship with the lenders. Let me like call my underwriters, see what we can do, if they can push it through. Yeah. So I got the application in. She was really great client. Sent me everything I needed right away.
Oh,
right?
perfect.
Love that. So, you know, got everything I needed that night, sent it in. Really was on the underwriter, you know, like, can you do me a favor? You know, I really want to get this approved for her. She's about to lose $20,000. Like, please.
Yeah.
Friday night, they sent me the approval. We were set to close on the Monday.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And funded on time.
Everything went
beautiful.
great. Yeah.
Because I know that sometimes when funding is the timelines are tight, that sometimes working with a real estate agent as well, because that's something that you and I do quite frequently, is always keeping them in the loop with the process.
Yeah.
They're able to sometimes amend that agreement, purchase a sale to push back the funding date if need be. But our goal is to typically get it funded by the day that was first kind of determined or established by the buyers and sellers, right?
Right.
So
the first thing I did actually was I called the listing realtor.
Okay.
I said, hey, like, any chance I'm getting an extension on this by like a week? Not happening.
Fortunately not.
Didn't want to hear it. So I was like, okay.
Okay, fair enough.
I actually
you know what?
needed an appraisal on that one too. The insurer wanted an appraisal done, and it's on Manitoulin Island. How many appraisers are there out there, right? So like,
absolutely.
That kind of stressed me out with the file. I was like, I don't know if it's going to get done in time, but no, it all worked out.
Oh, good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I know that we had, I just had a client recently who they're new investors, are purchasing some rental properties, and they needed something funded by just a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago. And we got the file end of January, so to speak. And again, had to go through a couple of different lenders. When we talk about timelines, some lenders are longer than others, depending on where you go, depending on the situation or scenario. Because you and I both know, like when clients come to us, if they're purchasing, let's say, a investment property like this particular client's were, are they doing it through a corporation under their personal name? That changes things in terms of how we approach
For sure.
the file and how which lenders we approach. But in the end, like yourself, kind of it was a little bit longer time frame than 5 days that you had. We had 2.5 weeks or so, but we were able to get them funded on the day of closing, which was awesome. So
Yeah, that's great too. 2.5 weeks, especially for an investment, because then you look
Yeah.
at a couple more things.
yeah, no, it was good. And it was interesting. You were just talking about your client, how she had a ton of documents already prepared for you.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we need to really touch on right now, is that the idea that when you, even with a pre-approval, I know that we like to collect as many documents as possible up front
Right.
to avoid those conditions after the commitment's even been, the approval's been done.
Right.
We'll get those commitment letters, we'll get those pre-approvals, but then there's still 15 conditions that need to be fulfilled potentially.
Yeah.
So the more documents, right, we get up front, the better.
For sure, yeah, because like pre-approval is like, yeah, you're like pre-approved, but that's based off the documentation that you provided, right? If like sometimes there is some things missing, like if we don't have your NOA and you owe money, that can mess up your
Right.
whole file, right? Like
Absolutely.
really all you really need is like 2 recent pay stubs and your T4s to get it to your average, or use your salary and you can send it and get a pre-approval. But what we like to do is we really like to fully underwrite everything for a pre-approval. That way we know, like if we tell you that you're good to go in firm, you're good to go and there's not going to be any hiccups, right?
100%.
Unless like something comes back on the appraisal, like
That's
it's
right.
short, like 40-50K, like we can't help that. But
Yeah, unfortunately, just got one of those today. So we're going to have to work our magic again and try to help support those clients in a different way. And that's something that we do really well too, I think, and that we like to do, is that when something doesn't work with one particular lender, we'll flip to another one. We'll have conversations, we'll change our gears and to try and help out. But when we talk about that turnaround time, as little as 5 days, now that's an anomaly. That's pretty impressive that you were able to do that. In that short period of
we
time.
definitely can't do that all the time.
But with our prime lenders, you're probably looking 2-3 weeks. We
Yeah.
try to tell our clients 30 days, right? Like, we give us the time to do it, but we'll certainly be quicker than that,
Right.
depending on the situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Got a couple of clients who are closing in early April. We've got time to be able to put together the application, get this information in and get it done. And we'll get it done by that time.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
So that was an interesting conversation, and a few questions came out of that from the agents at the brokerage we spoke to. Was that turnaround time? They were really, really interested to know what that looks like, because I think that helps them in the end too. I think it
Right,
helps
yeah.
real estate agents understand what they can tell their clients.
For sure, yeah. Like as a real estate agent, like part of your career there is like you have to make sure that you have your client's best interest. So if you're putting an offer and there's like a week till closing, you should know that that's probably not going to get funded at an A lender.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you do need to know that stuff. You're going to be putting in offers, right? Or like like if you look at the comps and you're offering a lot higher than what all the comps are in the area, you should also know that like the appraisal's probably going to come back short.
That's right.
So if you are going to put an offer on that, maybe don't go firm, or maybe go light on the deposit,
Yeah.
just in case, right? It's really good to have all your due diligence in.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
And I think what's really, really important for us when we talk to our clients is that ensuring that they are able to prove that they have the money to be able to put down and cover closing costs and do all of that stuff. And I know
Right.
we touched on that a bit at presentation as well. If they come unprepared, if they don't have the funds to be able to kind of move forward, then it makes it a little bit more challenging.
Right.
But we look at challenges as opportunities to help them in different ways. That's how I look at things. That's how I look at when I'm working with clients who might be looking to do certain things, debt consolidation, or they're an investment property, or a first-time home buyer, or whatever that might look like.
Right.
We try to help and adapt to what they need, and look at those challenges that might come up. I just got a new job. I've only been there 6 months. How can we use our income for that? And are you on probation? If you're not, then yeah, absolutely, we can use some of that, commissions and all of those things and bonuses that they get. We can use those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just depends on the situation.
For sure, for sure. And one thing I want to touch on too, because you mentioned it, is so for closing costs on properties, I feel like a lot of people don't know this because they see it on their approvals when it comes back that the lender needs to see this amount. I get asked all the time, what's that for? So when you're buying a house, in addition to having your down payment, the lenders also want to see that you have 1.5% of the purchase price set aside for closing costs. That's your legal fees, an appraisal might need to be done, but
Land transfer taxes,
yeah,
title
absolutely.
insurance, all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
no, that's not to say that all the closing costs are going to come up to 1.5%. They're usually a little bit lower, but that's just a benchmark that the lenders like to use to make sure that you are good for it. You're not going to run into trouble, buy a house, and then have no money for all this, right? So,
absolutely.
yeah, it's just something to be aware of for sure.
Yeah, so have that money set aside for down payment, and then have an additional, whatever the cost of the mortgage is going to be of the house, and have an additional 1.5, even sometimes a little more if you can. If you're able to, fantastic.
Yeah, right.
And some things, one of the things we do to adapt to those clients or those challenges we face is if they don't necessarily have that additional funding, that's when we talk about, well, you talk to family, get a gift, right, to help you with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And when you do go purchase a house, I think when we talk about funds and so forth, don't go out and buy anything else while you're trying to purchase a home. Don't buy a car or a boat or use your credit card for a major vacation. All those things are great to have, but during the housing process, purchasing, I think we keep it simple.
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple of times where I've had people pre-approve, and then 3 months later they come back like, oh, I have a live offer. It's like, awesome.
Yeah.
When I look at their credit bureau again, it's like, oh, you have like a new $600 a month car payment.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I can kind of
Change
ruin
gears.
the deal. Luckily, I was able to make it work on the
Yeah.
A side both times, but like through like a qualifying rate program where they just use the actual rate instead of doing the stress test, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it worked out. Luckily, it was tight, but it worked.
Sure. No, for sure.
But yeah, it's crazy some of the things that happen.
Absolutely. And I think that as long as people know that we're here to help them, and I think that coming to a mortgage agent, right, is really critical because lots of people out there feel comfortable going to their bank.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever bank that is that they use, it's comfortable. They have their investments there. They have. We work with the major lenders as well. We work with major banks. We work with major lenders. But I think working with folks like us, we're able to share with them the products and programs that are available by multiple lenders outside of the major ones. If we have to change gears because somebody just got a $600 a month car payment added to, and we're going, where did that come from? We're able to shift and work with, as a licensed agent, with 45, 50 different lenders that we typically can go to, which I think is kind of a nice aspect of what we do as
for sure. And like, honestly, it's in people's best interest to go and see all the different options that are available to them, right? Because like, like a lot of people think that their bank is loyal to them. They've been banking with them for 30 years. Well, if I can get you a rate from another lender that's lower than what your bank's offering you, what kind of loyalty is that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to change from the bank that you're with. Just your mortgage would be with a different lender. And we can do that. If we can save you 0.5% on the interest rate, which right now the interest rates being a little bit where they're at, starting to stabilize, but at the same time, when you're able to save them a little bit of money in the end, that's what our goal is to do.
Right, for sure.
So one of the things that we talked about with the presentation was appraisals. I know that you've already touched on a little bit here. We've talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And when the question was, is it necessary to have an appraisal on every single kind of application or situation or purchase?
Right. Yeah. It's really different. It's just trying to make this as simple as possible. So there's high ratio insured mortgages, there's insurable mortgages, and then there's conventional mortgages. So the insured and insurable mortgages, those are 25-year amortization max. Conventional allows you to go up to 30 years, and rentals you need to have in a conventional mortgage. Usually helps with cash flow if you're on a 30-year amortization. But because there's no insurance on the conventional side, that means that it's a little more risky for the lender. So usually most of the time, A couple of times I've had them use computerized appraisals in their system, but like 95% of the time, they're going to say that we need a full appraisal done on the property. So that's generally when you do need an appraisal. Now, on the insured and insurable side, usually because it's less risky to the lenders, they don't always have you get an appraisal. If there is an appraisal that's needed, it's usually the insurer that wants it done. And if they want it done, they're the ones that actually end up covering the cost of the appraisal, not the client. So that cost isn't passed down to the client.
That's right.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've only seen a handful of times where even on an insured or insurable product, the lender actually wants a full appraisal done. It does happen sometimes, but it's very rare.
And like you said, with some of the lenders, I was just working with a client recently. They didn't have to get an appraisal done on the refinance because it was done internally by that particular lender.
Right.
And it only cost them $100. I think when we talk about a full appraisal on a purchase, owner occupied, you're looking at about $400 to $500 on a full appraisal. That's when they go out, they walk the house, they walk inside, outside the house, do lots of measurements, figure out the comparables in the neighborhood, and really try to write a fair and reasonable and accurate appraisal. Those are about $400 or $500. I know it might be a little less depending on the appraiser, and we work with all of them, and we've got great relationships with them. Rental properties, they're a little bit over 500, could be more.
Yeah, I see the fair market rents. And
because when you start to ask for that, but it's helpful for us to know. Yeah. Because when we're filling out the application and the client's indicating they're going to get $2,000 a month for it, we want to verify that, obviously.
Right.
And that's done through those appraisals, so they cost a little bit more. And I know commercials even more than that.
Yeah, commercial appraisals can really get up there. You're talking like $800, $1,200.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of the building, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One cool thing that actually happened yesterday to me, I had a lender for a live file I have right now, and they wanted an appraisal done just to know the square footage of the property. So I reached out to them, and I was like, hey, like if I just get like an MPAC report that shows the square footage, can you waive the appraisal? And they did. It cost me $5 to get that.
Beautiful.
Wow. Appraisal's waived, so it makes the file a lot easier. My client's happy. She's going to save like $400. So.
Well, and that in the end, that's what our goal is.
Right.
Is really to help clients navigate the process, because it isn't as easy as what people might think it is in acquiring a mortgage, and trying to save them a little bit of money.
Yeah.
If we can save them on the rate, if we can save them through appraisals, if we can save them through whatever that might look like, that's what we try to do.
For sure. Yeah. It always feels good when you're saving your clients money. One of my favorite parts of this career actually is like consolidating people's debt. When somebody comes to you and they have like all these payments, they're behind on their credit cards, all this debt, or they have this equity that's not tapped into in their home. Yeah. And you can find them a decent product with a good rate and lower their monthly expenses by like $1,000. It feels really good.
Yeah, and I just had a client who was able to, who worked with us and worked with me, and we were able to do that and help them, because ultimately the house that you buy, and if it's your forever home, you want to be there. And I know with the market how much it has shifted over the last year and a half or so, with interest rates climbing.
Right.
I know housing prices, and speaking with some of the agents, housing prices are starting to come down a little bit and stabilizing lower than what they were.
Yeah.
But even that, with the increased interest rates, it's potentially making it challenging for some of our clients to stay in that home. And if it's their forever home, we're going to work hard to try and keep them in that home. So
Absolutely.
I was able to do a debt consolidation with particular clients. They were wonderful people. I've saved them about $1,100 a month.
Awesome.
And they get to stay in the home. They get to continue to live the life that they were hoping to live. And all because we have the ability to kind of find those lenders who will work with our clients and help them save money too.
Right.
Because obviously the lenders want business.
Yeah,
they want,
of course,
right? And so as you develop the relationships with them as agents, we're able to kind of find the product that'll work for those folks. But yeah, $1,100 is $1,100. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and they're going to be less stressed out, so they'll be healthier. Right. They'll have the less monthly payments. They'll be able to save more and just
live a better life. They don't have to sell their house.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to sell their house. So yeah, that presentation was really, really a great opportunity, I think, to get out there. And I know that you and I've talked about this. I think the goal is we continue to offer these opportunities for real estate brokerages across Windsor, Essex, and beyond.
Yeah,
We're even talking a little
absolutely.
bit about maybe heading into the Chatham market or heading into the Lambton, wherever that looks like.
Right.
I think, though, that the neat thing about the presentation that we did on last week with the brokerage was it was tailored to their needs, not ours.
For sure.
It wasn't about us.
Yeah.
It was about helping them understand kind of some of those behind the scenes so they're able to articulate to their clients more clearly. And in the end, hopefully refer them back to us so they can, right? So we can help them with that process.
Right.
That was the cool thing about it. And I think that's, to me, as an educator, I want the presentation to be meaningful to me. I want to be able to take away something and from that presentation that I was interested in, not that they were just spewing out, here's what we can do for you, which is important, and we can do a lot of great things for business, for clients and for real estate agents. But when it's geared to them, I think that's more meaningful, more purposeful. And I know I recently just did one the other day on ADUs. And I know you've talked in some of your other podcasts a little bit with your buddies in the Real Estate Hack and your podcast here about ADUs. And it was a great opportunity. 70 people were zoomed in. Great opportunity to talk about that because it's in high demand. People want to know.
It's a really hot topic right now,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. It can really add a lot of cash flow to your property or a way to help like subsidize your mortgage payments and household costs, right?
And there's a really cool program. You probably talked about the software program that's available, or through, you just type up the ADU search and you can see
ADU search.
over I think about 18 municipalities now that they've developed. And I know that Sarah Sepkar, she came and presented as well. I did the kind of financing of ADUs in that presentation, but she spoke to that ADU search. It was really a neat opportunity to see what it's capable of showing you. Is my area where I live, do I have enough space to be able to build a detached ADU and kind of bring in some cash flow? Because that's essentially, for investors, that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's great. Even like first time investors that want to get in but don't want to take like the full like leap into buying a separate property, it's a really good way to get some cash flow in. The funding side of things, it's a little complicated, but me and Paul, we do know how to fund them. So if you are curious about getting an additional dwelling unit on your property for some rental income, definitely reach out to us for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I know that we work with, like we said earlier, we work with the major lenders, and there's a couple major lenders who will finance ADUs, but we also have other options with us, depending on, again, the situation and what you want to do. Right. But we're able to go to a number of different lenders to help support that ADU construction as well.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more lenders build products around ADUs. Like I know of a couple right now, they have products in the works. It's a little time sensitive though, to come out with like a whole new product, it needs to be approved by like the CEO and all that, right? So like it could be like 6 months, it could be a year before these products start rolling around here in Windsor. But it's definitely a hot topic. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more of these ADUs and laneway homes in Windsor and surrounding areas for sure.
Well, and I think and so with that said, I think it's really important, if you as a real estate brokerage want to know about ADUs, want to know about turnaround times, want to know about anything that your clients have been asking you that you may want to have some answers for, we're here to help you with that. We're here to kind of tailor those presentations to work with you. And that's what we want to do as agents at Lend City, is that's part of our way of getting ourselves out there too, right?
For sure.
Our goal is to support as many people in Windsor, Essex, and beyond. Because I know Lend City, we can work with clients across the country.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And be able to do that.
We do deals all over the country. We're international.
We're going everywhere. So I think that if there's any interest out there, give us a call. And we'd be happy to come and share with your partners those things that are really, really important to you in that time. And we're always available for that kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to set up, if you want to set up a presentation for me and Paula come in and educate you guys on any questions that you have for us, you can reach out to us. We can set that up. Or even if you want to put on like first time seminars for home buyers or investors, we can definitely come and do that too. So
yeah, absolutely.
We're definitely available for that.
Yeah. And if anybody's interested in looking for a mortgage, as you said in the beginning, you better call Paul.
That's right.
Give me a call. But I know that the folks here at Lend City, it's a great place to work, but it's also a great place to support people. And this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed this, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Paul.
It's
Really
great working with
it.
you. And
Likewise.
I know that you've been kind enough to allow me to put my details out there. So if you're looking for a mortgage, better call Paul. Just look at the details below. And it was awesome. I enjoyed that.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.